Hello and welcome to eCommerce Uncovered. Today I have my good Twitter friend, now first time on the pod guest, Danavir. He's going to school us on all things copywriting for brand owners. Danavir, where the hell should brand owners start with their copy if they're below 1 million in revenue?
Well, actually, it's that is both a humongous question and a very, very specific, very small question at the same time, because the real answer is that you don't. You do not focus on the copy at any range. What you actually need to do is focus on the message, the positioning. That is what you need to do, because a lot of this is by far the biggest problem in e-commerce in general. When people think of copy, they think of these like clever puns, jokes, like all these different things that literally it does nothing for you. And I have clients in the email. I do email marketing for clients. They all want this stuff, and I give it to them because it makes them feel good about it, but it does zero to the bottom line. So when you're going from 0 to 1 million, or you're 1 million going to 100 million or whatever, what you really need to do is, instead of worrying about like how your thing sounds, what you want to focus on is what you're saying. That's actually a David Ogilvy quote of, focus on what you're saying, not how you're saying it. And so that's where I would start. Positioning, messaging, what's the substance? What are you saying? What is it why is it different? That's where everyone needs to be at all times.
Not how you're saying, it's what you're saying. So
Yes.
what should brand owners be saying? Like, how do they stand out? A lot of these D2C brands, many of them, at least in the early days, are drop shipping, probably from very similar sources and suppliers. How do you make your brand stand out? What's that positioning? Like,
Yeah.
how do you start with that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing you do is you focus on, especially positioning in particular, you want to focus on competitor research. And what that means is that you want to look at what other competitors are doing, and then see their messaging, and then see where you fit in that, ecosystem of products. So, for example, I used to own an apparel brand, right? It was called Stunt Double, and the whole thing behind it was that it was basically like a copy of what Rhone and Lululemon already do, where they had things like shirts that had anti-odor technology. So basically, if you sweat, it wouldn't stink, essentially. But I want to figure out a differentiator. What was my differentiator in that space? In the direct response, when you learn direct response, you learn something called market sophistication, which is like a measure of how to change your messaging based on how competitive the market is. In the perfect world, you do everything you can to be in an uncompetitive market, but I decided to go more competitive and stuff like that because costs and stuff like that. So what I did was that I got my shirt. It had the same anti-odor technology as Rhone and Lululemon, like literally the same one from the same company, same everything. And while they positioned theirs as like Lululemon had like silver scent, right? Sounds a bit feminine, right? And I forgot what Rhone used to call theirs, but it wasn't like it was like silver tech. Okay, a little bit more, but whatever. What I did was I called mine Silver Force, and I positioned it as military grade anti-odor technology. Now all of a sudden, like, you put my shirt, at least with the copy, next to Rhone and Lululemon, it is a clear difference. It's still there still has to be a decision making process. So it's not like the perfect positioning, because in the perfect positioning you are finding a way to not compete with everyone else. But when you have to compete with everyone else, you put military grade anti-odor technology versus anti-odor technology. Which one are you going to pick, especially if that shirt costs like $60? You're going to pick military grade anti-odor technology. It's stronger, and that's what at least what you do with market sophistication. And so that's just one way to go about it, but the ideal way is to focus on a category where either you create a brand new category or an existing category that there might be a clear winner, but you can be an easy number two, kind of like how Coke is number one, but then Pepsi became a really, really solid number two. And then all your copy that you do, regardless if it's emails or website copy, ads, or anything, starts from there. Especially like, I know, Matt, you are focused on ads and stuff like that, and that's ad copy is literally, most of it is like Okay, it's like 3 to 5 benefits and features and benefits. It's literally like a features and benefits list, 10% off, go buy now. It's literally what it is. But how do you get there? You focus on what makes your thing different. We are the world's first toothpaste for, sensitive gums. That's what you want to be. And then once you have that, then the copy becomes super easy. Yeah.
Okay, so find out how you fit in against other people and fit in
Or you
and
want to stand
know
out.
your place, or you stand out. Yeah, you want to stand out and try to raise your hand up about who you are. So then is that so other customers can know if they are aligned with your brand versus another brand? Um, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense to me. Okay, so after the competitor research, how do you go about, like, how does copy and messaging and this positioning play into brands? Say I want to start a brand and I'm thinking about these SKU sets I'm starting with and a bundle or a starter kit. Like, how does copy take me through how copy can help me with those positioning those offers or those bundles and those kits like that we often see from brands?
Got it. Yeah. So honestly, because my background is in direct response copywriting, so I used to write copy for like online courses and stuff like that. And if you know anything about the online course space, it's literally like you have to write 20 pages of copy to sell $100 video course. In the e-commerce space, copy is a lot more focused on the positioning of that particular product. So like say if let's just say you have an apparel brand, for example, right? And you are selling all sorts of different types of SKUs, shirts, shorts, pants, all this type of stuff. And then, this is very minor, but just to give you like how specific this can go, like you give, you have like 3 to 5 SKUs and you call it, the stunt double starter pack. That's the kind of that's very, very, very small positioning element that you would do. But it's the same concept, but for regardless of whatever it is that you're selling. So the way I like to do it, I like to think in terms of a hierarchy. What I do is I get the product and I always figure out, I'm assuming I know the positioning. Okay. So my next step is then how can I promote that positioning? Especially, and this changes best based on email or ads or stuff like that. But normally, I like functional products. They're easier, kind of like supplements and skincare and stuff like that. When you get that positioning, how do you promote that positioning? I usually like to either, like, for example, set it up by saying, okay, this is the problem and this is our solution and how we came to that solution. Or it could be like comparative, like this is everyone else has X, ours is Y because of these couple of reasons, right? And then depending, and again, this changes depending on whatever it is you're actually selling. Because, like, for example, let's say you're selling jewelry, right? Jewelry, these are rocks. And usually what differentiates jewelry is going to be either the actual rock or, like how it looks like the style. Okay. And so I remember, I don't know who this was, but I remember one person selling, like aquatic themed jewelry, right? So at that point, you're like, you don't have to say a problem solution. Like there's no problem when it comes to that kind of stuff. But if you are in that thing, then what you do is you promote. Your copy is all about, says aquatic themed jewelry. You can even go nerdy or even clever if you want, like be the queen of the sea or something, whatever. I don't know. So, but that's the kind of way I will think about it. Whenever you do copy, you are promoting that positioning as well as the offer that ends up being, whatever it is that you're selling.
Got it. Okay, so include the positioning in with the offer in the bundle and the kit. Even don't just say bundle kit, like, or swag pack. Like, brand it. You can even brand it as basic as adding your brand, Stuntman double pack and stuff like that. Okay, got it. Sweet. So I'm a example. I'm a non-marketing founder, and I just made this cool product. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty good. It's kind of different. but I'm not a marketer. I'm used to working with my hands and making stuff.
Yeah.
Like how how do I go from 0 to 1? Like not even $1 million in revenue. Like where do I start? Like I have this cool product. I know it's cool. I know how it works. I know the industry I'm in, and it's better or different in some way. How do I how do I get that message onto my website, onto
Yeah.
my Shopify store?
Yeah.
Like what take me through a couple tips you would give someone literally with a blank like theme. They're like replacing the debut theme like with their own copy, right? Like talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when it comes to the specifics of how to actually write the copy, like say let's for this example, let's just say it's websites, right? So the important part is that you do know your product and that you do know who it's for, how's it different, stuff like that. And then ultimately, all you're doing you're just kind of like saying it. Like that's like that's by far the most biggest thing. Like a lot of e-commerce business owners, they like to be clever about it. And like no, like if you are selling pea protein, just say that. That's the number one thing by far. Now, when it comes to like the actual how should you manage your the messaging and stuff like that. That one's going to be more about, we could go actually pretty complicated with this, but as long as like say, there's two, look, I'll just say it. There's two different concepts. It's super important. One I already mentioned. So one is called market awareness. Okay. This is basically where, you are changing the messaging of your copy to based on where the customer is on their journey. So for example, a quick example, like the homepage of your site is, I usually like to think of it as like a middle of the funnel thing, middle of the funnel page where people go there and that it helps them make a decision to go somewhere else. Okay. Or like say an email is usually going to be like, if you send an email 15% off, that's a bottom of the funnel thing. And then so your messaging has to change for that. So that's one thing, market awareness. And I'll give another example, like a full example. Market awareness, and two, what I mentioned earlier, is market sophistication, which is based on your competition, how competitive it is. What do you need to say to be believed, essentially? Okay. So again, like the stunt double example I gave earlier, everyone's saying anti-odor technology. I decided to one up them by saying military grade anti-odor technology. Okay. So when you're actually writing the thing, you are launching a brand new thing. Okay. Again, let's use supplements. That's like an easy one. Pea protein supplement. Like for example, one concept I had was like, cause I'm a vegetarian and I like, I take, protein shakes and stuff like that, but I like the whole, clean stuff and stuff like that. But I know me as a founder, supplements are a hard thing to sell, especially when you're trying to say, our supplement has more protein, whatever. But what if I started one that's all about like the Ben and Jerry's of protein, right? Now I have like, chunky monkey as my flavor, right? So if that's my concept, right, and I'm putting it on a website, I'm literally gonna say, something like I don't know, let's just say 12 of amazing flavors, or the world's most delicious protein shakes, basically, or something like that. You want to make it into a big idea. And how you do that, again, just focus on your positioning. Right? If you have no idea what the big idea is, it's because you don't have your positionings off. You just don't know as much as you think you do. Okay. And then you just literally put it as plainly as possible. Again, no cleverness. Forget all that kind of stuff. No funny. Don't be that. Unless that's literally your differentiator, your positioning, that you're trying to be funny, do not do that. And then just say the basic thing. And depending on where you are putting that copy, then you can change it up. So again, if it's like an email, which is what we do mostly for our clients, 15% off, Labor Day email, I don't have to do anything. I just say Labor Day, 15% off. Get our, amazing, delicious protein things, whatever. But if it's like, say, a welcome email, and like, for example, like the second email of the welcome series, I always like to make it to teach people why they should buy our stuff versus everyone else's. Like, what is the differentiator? Okay. In that email, that's a different email. That's more middle of the funnel. So in that case, I'm doing something like, pea protein versus whey protein, for example. right? And in that case, then I can eventually go down to my particular thing. But when it comes to the actual, like, you're sitting there writing whatever, all you have to do at that point. So you got all this stuff, you got all this information. Literally go to other people's sites or emails or whatever it is that you're writing. Copy what they do. Literally copy their framework. And then you just input your thing. So if I'm selling pea protein, I'm going to go to someone else that sells pea protein and other supplements. I'm going to take what they have as frameworks and then just input my information into it. And that's pretty much, and this is what I do for, like, I've been a copywriter for like 11 years since the beginning. That's literally what I've done. People pay me literally to go to other sites or emails or whatever, copy what they do, but I'm inputting their positioning into it. And then if you want to go above and beyond that, and you're you're a brand owner, you can hire an actual copywriter to do it. It's not going to make like a huge difference. But just literally, like if you're in the internet marketing space and Russell Brunson, that they call it, funnel hacking. That's all you're doing. Just model after something, find a bunch of stuff, model after it, and then put your input stuff. That's why I say it's better to, what you say is more important than how you say it, because if you just said how to say it, you're screwed. But you say what to say, you can take anything and make it good.
Just take what is already working, take what's out there, even though your product might be unique or different in a few ways. It's still not, for most 99% of brand owners, it's not a novel, brand new concept. So take what's out there, apply your positioning, your values, your attributes, and tweak it. Cool. Got it. So the last thing you mentioned there was hiring a copywriter. If I'm a brand owner, should I outsource my copy to a freelancer, consultant, an agency? Or is that something you ever consider advising brands to hire a copywriter in-house? Let's open this discussion up.
Yeah. So I honestly, to me, I think of it as like a talent thing. If you can find great talent in-house, do it. If you can find great talent, as a freelancer or an agency, do it. So it's more of a talent game than anything else. And also like your needs. Obviously, like in-house, if you have a lot of copy that needs to be done, then it makes sense to do in-house. Like especially like, again, like you're a supplement brand, that's very, like, at least compared to like apparel or whatever, it's very copy intensive. There's like a lot of stuff that has to be written, so it makes sense to do in-house copywriter. But you could outsource it and stuff like that. It's more about finding a good copywriter than picking in-house or whatever. And usually, like, it's kind of like a thing, like people know that the good ones are never in-house, basically. But that doesn't mean there isn't any good in-house ones either. So it depends on how much copy affects your business. If you are a functional business like supplements or skincare or something like that, copy matters more than if you are in apparel or jewelry, which is our more lifestyle businesses. Those require more visuals and stuff like that. So if you're a lifestyle business, I would have in-house like a videographer, right? And then outsource the copywriting. But if you're in a functional business, it'll be the opposite way. In-house the copywriter, outsource the all the video creative and stuff like that. That's the way I would think about it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good and probably a smarter way to think about it than black and white of in-house versus outsourcing an agency. I think we on Twitter especially, we have a lot of nuance and context missing. So I love the talent and like the needs of your brand, functional versus lifestyle. That's really great. Okay, recently, what has been one of your favorite things you either wrote or sent for a client? Like, is it an email? Was it an ad? Was it like a website? Like, what's a recent win or cool thing that you guys in Supply Drop have done recently?
Yeah, so I'll mention two things. One, we haven't actually sent it yet, but we're doing it right now.
Okay.
And this is my favorite thing we're working with, because I've recently gone into NFTs, right? And we had a client who they're trying to build their own OpenSea, right, which is where the marketplace for NFTs. And their thing, they want to act like an e-commerce store though. So a bunch of creators have their projects up there. And then they build their own email list though, like the business, the client, and then they promote out different projects that are coming up or whatever, like an e-commerce business, like as if it was their own products. But one thing they do, or at least they're planning to do, is a thing they call a starter pack. So basically, it's kind of like if NBA Top Shot, they do literally the same thing. And so what we're doing is an email design called the Anime Starter Pack. So because their whole thing is anime, right? That's the niche of the business. And so that honestly, obviously we're talking here. I can't show it to you, but it looks really cool.
Yeah,
so that's
one.
Yeah. That's the one thing. Yeah. But another one, a recent win, and it was an interesting one, is we sent out a testimonial email for a client. They sell eyewear, like Lensable. And that particular email, basically the email is, hero image of a girl, putting her glasses on, basically, a headline of, like a quote headline of, it was about like, some person saying, this, getting my eyewear from Lensable was better than my, traditional prescription or something like that. 5 stars, and then the actual quote itself. And at the very bottom, the copy was, need new lenses, try our best sellers. And then it was like all their best sellers essentially. And what that win was, it was an interesting one because normally testimonial emails they do kind of about average, but that one I realized that it actually had a higher click-through rate than all their other emails. And not only did it have a higher click-through rate, when I resent that email, I changed the subject line to focus away from the copy from the testimonial to focusing on the positioning of the business, which is better, paid less for better lenses. All right. And once I did that, the email resend basically doubled the revenue of the original email. So again, that was the positioning thing, right? Plus an email framework archetype that worked. And so that was a really good win for us. And I think everyone, by the way, should try testimonial emails and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's super interesting. So two things I want to follow up there. First thing is, how often do you recommend brands resend the same email and just switch the subject line like that? Is it a percentage? Is it a gut thing? Like when should I resend my campaign?
Yeah, I mean, often, honestly, it depends on how much you're sending and stuff like that. Like normally, I say every brand should do a minimum of two per month, right? But ideally, you're sending 1 per week or more, and it depends how aggressive you want to be. Now, it because of iOS 15, things have to change a bit, right? And we're still trying to figure exactly how that's going to change. But normally, like you want to send, like say for example, you send 1 email a week. Like you have to send a resend. You have to get that. You need to be sending 2 emails per week. But you're sending, let's say your email, you're already sending 3 or 4 campaigns per week, which is like the limit in e-commerce basically. In that case, I'll think about it a bit more. Maybe only send the ones that really outperform, and then that more than likely that'll end up like 2 or 3 per month, which is kind of the same thing when I said earlier. But yeah. You want to send it as often as possible. When it comes to email marketing, it's less about creative and way more about how aggressive you are when it comes to frequency, when it comes to offers, and when it comes to, anything new, essentially, like new product launches and stuff like that.
So more the merrier. I think I've seen enough of your posts and rants on Twitter about people are not sending enough email, and most brands early on should probably send more. Is that still basically what you're saying, right?
Well, if you're brand new, like literally have you less than 1,000 subscribers or whatever, I probably wouldn't worry too much about like sending like 3 or 4 emails a week either. Focus on whatever your acquisition channel is. But once you want to start taking your thing seriously, like you need to be like serious. And I say this all the time, especially if you're new. Like for example, in e-commerce, a lot of people want to be like beautiful. Like they want to send like the most beautiful things, and we do that for our clients because they want it. But like say you're brand new, you don't have much of a budget. So what do? Just send a plain text email and send that 3 times a week. Don't don't be overprotective about your brand, because especially at that size, you have no brand basically. So just send emails. If it has to be plain text, let it be plain text, and then just go from there, because it's gonna make you money, right? If you want, like, there's this thing in direct response people like to say a lot, is like, if I only send emails on the days I want to make money, right? And especially now with iOS 14 that happened, and now iOS 15, that's basically more true than ever in e-commerce. So send emails, plain text, basic stuff. Go ahead and if you're just starting out, like you have less than 1,000 subscribers, don't worry too much. Focus on acquisition. But once you start to get those subscribers in the door, yeah, send a decent amount.
Send away. Okay. Got it. Okay. Where what sort of trouble do brand owners get into with copy when it comes to ads? I know you do a lot more on the email side, but on the ad side, where do brand owners sometimes get in trouble with, like, Facebook ads, for example?
Yeah. Again, when I think of copywriting, I always go back to the fundamentals, like the basics. So for me, I don't worry about the copy, or I don't see, like, most of the time, I don't even see a problem with most of the copy being sent out in e-commerce. What I'm mostly worried about is, again, what are you saying? And the problem is with most e-commerce brands is that they're saying the same thing as everyone else, right? It's literally, hey, we have a pea protein here, 20% off, which is fine, right? But why should I care about your pea protein? You know what I mean? Like, is it, like, does it look nicer? Does it taste better? That kind of stuff. That's really where everyone screws up almost everywhere in just in copywriting in general, regardless of the medium. And in ads, like, obviously there's different type of ads, whether you go like long form video ads like Harmon Brothers, which is completely different from like the short like image that just 15% off or whatever. So that's to me, that's where I focus on all the time. What is the positioning of the product, of the brand, of that particular product, and of that particular offer, right? As long as what you're saying is more important than how you say it. So stop worrying about being clever and stop giving like the absolute basics. If say your ad, right, and people are scrolling, but people see 5 different supplement ads, well, why should someone pick yours? They're not going to pick it just because it's 20% off, because everyone else is also 20% off. And it doesn't have to be like super long either. Like literally, like in the headline or somewhere, you could say, get the world's first, pea protein for 20% off, right? It could be super basic, but you gotta have the world's first pea protein. That's what makes it, better.
Got it. So even in my question, and I just learned from you like 10 minutes ago about it's what you say, not how you say it, I'm still stuck on the how, which is just goes to show you how awesome I am at copywriting. I think I'm stuck in ads land trying to hack that click-through rate up by doing the how and not the what of the copy. I mean, so that's
the what. It's good to learn. What does matter a little bit, but within context, right? And especially when you use market sophistication and market awareness, and you want to increase the click-through rate, it's basically a more like you could do things to make things more curiosity based, which will increase the click-through rate, right? But usually most e-commerce ads are more like bottom of the funnel, go buy now type of thing. Well, if you're doing like something like Harmon Brothers, they do like 3-minute ads, so they have space to really go sophisticated with their copywriting. But for the most part, like you should be, if you do not know how to sell your product in a sentence, then you don't know your product basically. And then at that point, it's then beyond that, it's how you present that sentence, like where you're putting it. There's a big difference in my opinion versus saying we sell the first versus the only, right? There is a difference, and there's actually a legal difference between that too as well. So you have to be specific on that kind of stuff. So again, it comes back down to the positioning, like what you're saying, like it's got to be different.
Gotta be different. Gotta be clear, not clever. Clear, not clever.
Yep.
I'm gonna say it one more time so I can remember. So I can remember. Is clear, not clever. Okay.
Yeah. And again, if you're having trouble, literally go to other ads and do what they do and then input your thing. That's really. And there's one tip though that's super important that now that I just reminded me. If you're gonna do that, say I'm on supplement, I'm gonna go to another supplement brand like say Onnit or something. Go to the Facebook ads library, go to Onnit or whoever you're looking for, and go all the way to the bottom, and try to find one that's similar to whatever it is that you're selling, or not even just like type of copy that you want to try. Because the longer an ad has been running, the more likely it works. And so there you go. Now you can model off of it.
Yes, I was just about to bring up the Facebook ads library. That is a gold mine. It just shows any active ads of brands running through their Facebook pages. And again, longer in theory, the longer it's running, the more likely it is to be making them money. So great tip there to, if you're really, really stuck, just go find someone else's brand, see what the heck they're doing, input your values, input your positioning into it. Got it. Yes, excellent. Okay. Is for copywriting and positioning and messaging, what haven't we covered that would be relevant and important for an early brand owner to consider? And whether it's ads, their email, their website, the packaging, customer service, if it's, I don't know what it is, but anything else about positioning and copy?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, we could talk about this for freaking hours. But when it comes to positioning and copy, I guess like what we could talk about is like the specifics of what does it look like actually to create positioning, or like a tagline or something like that helps you with your positioning and whatnot, and which it translates to your copy. So for example, like for positioning, I literally had a client not too long ago. They were in the CBD space, synchronicity, and the problem with the CBD space is that literally everyone's almost the same thing as everyone else, or either that, or like because it's CBD and because everything's like has to be like super scientific and stuff, it gets super nerdy like really quick and very hard to understand, and which is a big problem. And they paid me to help find the positioning, right? And so what they had before was I forgot the name of it, but it was basically like a 3-step, like here are the 3 reasons why we're different, right? But the problem was that 2 of those reasons were the same everyone else had, and they only have one thing that was actually different, but even that thing was super complicated to understand. And so what I did was that I looked through all the competitors. I looked through like 20 competitors that they gave me the list, like all these different competitors, and then I started to see what made those brands different, or like what were their promises, what were the benefits, or the features. Like for example, like Martha Stewart has a CBD brand, and it's like a little thing, a little cube. It looks like candy, right? And she actually says this CBD thing is inspired by this candy made in France, and her focus was that these were like the best tasting CBD things. And so that's I wrote that. Like literally, I'm in a Google Doc and I wrote that. Martha Stewart, whatever the thing was called, what's it called, the gummy drops or gummy, whatever, and world's best tasting things. And there's a couple other things on the actual website. Like 96% of people who've tried it said they loved it, at least the taste of it and stuff like that. So I wrote that down, and I literally did the same thing for like 20 different brands. And then I went back to their brand, my client's brand, Synchronicity, and I looked over through everything. Of the stuff that I saw from all the other brands and of the stuff that I saw from Synchronicity, what was the one thing? Now their problem was that they had the differentiator, but it was so like embedded within their stuff that it just didn't make sense. But one thing that they did have, one particular step of their CBD making process, was that they were it was hand pressed olive oil, hand pressed CBD, like hemp, right? And so that's literally what I made the whole positioning. And because I did all the research with 20 different competitors, none of them had that process of how they actually made their thing. I mean, they did, but it was like their own way. And it was like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, we make our stuff in-house, basically. But literally everyone else does the same thing. So I positioned Synchronicity as the hand-pressed CBD brand. Hand-pressed hemp. That was like the tagline I came up with, it. Hand-pressed hemp. And now their positioning, now you could say, you know, instead of saying, you know, we do CBD oil, we're the world's first hand-pressed hemp oil brand. And now that's all over their thing. And then what I told them to do right after that was how to sell that positioning. And the way you sell that positioning, at least for them in particular, was problem solution. All the other brands, they don't do hand press. And what happens if you don't do hand press, then you can have the greatest hemp in the world, but the quality suffers because a lot of it like leaks out. But when you do hand pressed, we keep more hemp, more of whatever the thing is, CBD in the actual product. And that's how come we're superior. And even though I don't actually know how much better it is or how much more it is, but because it's hand pressed hemp, and or as a consumer you see that, you're like, okay, that makes sense. And now all of a sudden they could use like artisanal positioning stuff while keeping some of the science behind it. Like we hand press, like it's kind of like that. Like I literally had in my head like the aviation gin ad that Ryan Reynolds did, like where they're like they apologize to every berry before they actually do it. We would actually make it literally the same thing, and that's how ultimately you're doing it. And if there was a book to read about this, go read Differentiate or Die by Jack Trout, I think, which is saying one of the authors of 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. So that's a really, really good book. You do, and then if you focus your brand on a particular attribute or a particular process or whatever, then all of a sudden your copy becomes different. Then all you have to do is promote that positioning or the offer that you're actually sending out.
So had you not done that research, all the actual hard work and like task, like the time that it took, you probably wouldn't have come up with hand pressed hemp. You might have, but like you wouldn't have been like, okay, well this is a thing. But since you went through the research, you looked at all the other brands, this is unique to them. Now they're that hand pressed hemp brand. Yes. And like you said, what they're saying is that we hand press. Then you can use that positioning, like you said, to pain, agitate solution.
Exactly.
And put them against the other brands, saying, this is our brand, that's them, back to us. This is why you should buy from us. Okay.
Exactly. Everyone else sells the generic stuff that they all promise the same thing, but they don't have hand pressed. We are hand pressed, they're not. Right. And so and one more thing you mentioned that's super important, and this is actually the real value of a copywriter. Right. So if you want to go again back to in-house versus whatever, in-house versus agency or freelancer, the real value in learning copywriting, whether for yourself or hiring one, is that copywriters are good researchers, or at least that's their job, to research. Because everything you're doing, from the messaging, from product development, it's all in the research. And so, for example, like David Ogilvy was a copywriter, and his most famous ad was like, I think it was like I forgot what was the car, but it was like a really expensive car. And his headline was something to the effect of like, the only thing louder than I'm butchering.
That's okay.
But
it's all good.
Yeah, but you could search it up. Like the only thing louder than the clock or whatever is like the something. I completely butchered it, but definitely look it up. Is his most famous headline? It was like 60 seconds or 60 miles per hour or something like that. But it's all in the research, right? And he did it because he was reading like through like their manuals or whatever, and he realized that one particular thing sounded super cool, and so he just put it as the headline of his ad. And that's really what positioning is. It's all in the research. Research. Do not make anything up, because you're not going to be that creative, and two, that's probably illegal. So don't make anything up. Look at the research, and all you're doing is finding that one idea, and then make it, your entire business. And then if you can, even better, you make the product based around that particular idea. And now you've anchored it. And now the copy, it almost writes itself, assuming you understand your customer and you're using, other templates or whatever to write your copy.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. And I pulled up the quote real quick. At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the new Rolls Royce comes from the electric clock.
Yeah, there we go.
That is smooth.
Yeah. And he just found it.
That's cool.
He just found it. Like it was like he didn't make it up or anything, or he didn't test some stuff or something. He literally just read like the stuff that the client gave him, and he just made it cool essentially. And he does the same thing with like the Hathaway man, right? That's positioning. Instead of saying, okay, we sell this really cool shirt, he puts a character in front of it and says, we call it the Hathaway man, which is the inspiration of the world's most interesting man, the Dos Equis guy. That's where that came from. And so that's one way to position a lifestyle product, right? Because you don't have the same like problem solution sort of thing. So you're more worried about like who people are trying to become. Like Rolex used to do the same thing. They used to say something like, people who climb Mount Everest are the type to wear Rolex, something like that. And so that's more for the lifestyle type of brands. But yeah, that's how you want to think about it. And then when it comes to the actual copy, again, look for someone else's stuff and then just model after it and write your your positioning and stuff in there, your offer.
You basically, from what I'm understanding, is try not to write copy from scratch. Always start somewhere, either with someone else's writing, your customer's words, stuff like that, and like then fill in the gaps and mold it and iterate, right? Not just, I have this clever quote that is so cool and unique. It's simple, clear, and then just promote that once you find it.
Yeah, and really what copywriters do is that they, like for me, I always, when the reason people might think I'm creative, right, when I'm write copy is because I've memorized all these templates, essentially. So like, I'm not the first one to say, introducing the world's first protein shake. That has been done literally a million times. But once you are, like, say you're the owner and you came up with your own first of the world protein shake, whatever, it sounds whatever, but once you input it into the template, it sounds amazing, especially when you make big, bold claims. Like, I can't think of any other at the moment, but like, for example, the Rolex one was, if you are in a mountain, people who climb Mount Everest are the type to wear Rolex. Like, that's like, if you, like, say you sold shoes, you sold like premium shoes or something, I don't know. And like, you're like, the people who, the people who do Ironmans are the type of who wear this, that's literally what I'm saying. And so, and then as long as you expand, I'll give you a good one. Subway is a fast food restaurant. It's not really that healthy, but what they literally did was they took all the elements of like the weight loss industry, like literally, wow, I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. They literally took that same thing and just made it for their food. And that's literally what you're trying to do. And when it comes to like to the minutia, like specific emails and stuff, like for example, like earlier I talked about like a testimonial email. I didn't imagine that myself. I literally went to my inbox and I went to actually it was by the guys at 4x400, the one of for the trucks or whatever. Slick products. I went to their thing. And I saw them send multiple testimonial emails. I'm like, this looks like it might work. Sent it, and boom. That's I just inputted our testimonials, our design, and stuff like that. But it was like that. It was the same framework. So, and then you just do that on repeat.
Got it. So copy is much less about creating. It's more about copying from other people and adjusting and copying what they say in your customers and repeating it back to them.
Well, not what they say, but like the frameworks, right? Because it's all the same. Like problem, agitation, solution, everyone is doing it, but the difference is what is the problem, what is the agitation, what is the solution. You know what I mean? So that's what you're ultimately doing. And some things are more specific. Like the world's first. That one you can copy a bit more of it because it's the world's first. It's not much more ways you can say it. So yeah.
Cool. Got it. Okay. Last one here. What are some variables, factors, metrics, if there are any, for you to look at a brand, if a brand comes to you, like, we think we have a copy problem. Like, is it a gut feeling of just you reading their website and being like, yeah, you do? Or are there other things you kind of look at to help agree or disagree with their statement of that they have a copy problem?
Yeah. Again, I'm super basic on this. I only think there's a copy problem if you have a positioning problem. Because there's some clients that they're like, okay, we have a copy problem, and I look at it, and it's like maybe the copy in of itself is not amazing or astonishing or anything like that, but I would say it's fine. At least because when you do service and stuff like that, now you have to calculate the ROI that you will get from your work. And so, I mean, if they have like crappy copy but the positioning is good, could I improve it? Yeah, but how much money are they going to make from it and stuff like that? So whatever. But if they have great copy, like it sounds amazing, but the positioning is off, I'm going to say, listen, what you're doing is it's not working out for obvious reasons, because there's nothing different between your product versus everyone else's. And this happens more in like the website. Like I don't do much of that stuff, at least not anymore. I used to do like landing pages and stuff. I don't do that much anymore, but that's typically what would say. And also the exact opposite thing would happen. Like clients would be like, they have no position and stuff like that. And then all they care about is the creative. All they care about is like the actual copyright. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work out. This is not going to work. But when it comes to like email marketing, for example, that one in email, the copy matters much less. But if they want to improve the creative, most of the time clients want to improve like the design of the creative rather than actual copy. But when it comes to email, I still take the same approach, and where I might change the lead, for example. And what the lead means is like the first third of the email. So like, for example, like instead of saying, like, there's a big difference between, hey, get 20% off versus, hey, Halloween is here, get 20% off, right? There's a big difference between those two things. And so those are the things I would want to, test and then to try.
So even again, you've reiterated enough. I've tried to ask you a few different times. You keep coming back to positioning. The positioning, what you're different, that big idea, and then the copy, and actually how you say it is like the 20%. The 80% of the impact is the positioning. The 20% is the how.
Yeah, and if you're and when it comes to the actual copy, so the ultimate point of copywriting is something called, and no one talks about this in e-commerce, I don't know why, but it's message market match or message market fit. Like similar to product market fit, but the message. What are you actually saying, and how does that fit with the customer? So you also have the positioning, but when you sell that positioning, it has to, sound like something like they actually care about. So if you are the world's first protein shake, okay, that's good, very good, but also, like, how do I match that then to whatever the customer wants? Well, they want to lose weight, they want to build muscle, they want to look good, right? Or they've tried all these other supplements and they all feel scammed, right? That's another angle you could go about it too. So now you can actually look through all those different angles and then, test them all and see which one resonates, which then becomes, your message market fit. So for example, one thing we do, at least on the email side of things, one of like the main ways we get results for clients is that we test for different types of email, archetypes, like the testimonial email, right? That's a certain type of archetype we'll do. And so what we try to do is we try to make a collection over the course of a few months. We find out, these 3 to 4 archetypes, these for some reason outperform for your list, right? And so we do more of that. And so and those archetypes are really, it's just messaging. Like, what are you saying? Like a testimonial, 15% off, that's the message we're sending out for that particular email. So, and that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to find the positioning and then setting that positioning so you can find message market fit, which again, you'll hear it. like from your customers, like, wow, like your product really does what it says it does, or wow, like your product, it sounds exactly like what I need. Like that's the type of like anecdotal data that you wanna hear about from your customers.
Message, market fit, and positioning. Those are the big things for me that I'm gonna have to go learn even more about. But man, this was uh, really good to deep dive into copy and get some basics and the foundations of positioning. So appreciate your time. But Danavir, where can people find you? Where do you want to point them to if they want to talk to you, learn more about yourself and your work that you do?
Sure. Well, if you want to talk to me about being a client, we do e-commerce email marketing for, 6 to 7, 8 figure brands. We've done stuff for smaller brands too, especially flows. If you want to learn more about that and to hire me and my team, you can go to supply-drop-media.com. And if you also have a personal site, danavirsarria.com, that you can go to sign up to the newsletter, where basically I'm kind of like documenting what I'm learning because I'm also building a men's grooming brand on the side. So I'm kind of like documenting and just teaching e-commerce, marketing tips on a weekly basis. And other than that, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you just go to @Danavir Sarria.
At Danavir Sarria, at danavirsarria.com, and Supply Drop. Those will all be in the show notes. Thanks so much again for your time, and I'm sure I'll have you on again in the future. And I'll talk to you guys later.